Welcome, welcome to Local Everywhere. I'm Cynthia Pooler, and my guest today is Mike Camoin. And Mike Camoin is celebrating his 10th anniversary of the Northeast uh,
Filmmakers Lab.
yes. And so sorry. So tell us a little bit about the Filmmakers Lab, um, how it gets started, whose idea was it, and how it's grown over the years.
Wow. Well, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for having me, and welcome to all your viewers. The Northeast Filmmakers Lab came out of actually 10 years ago. Obviously, it was our first launch, 2014. Um, but it started in Russia, really, in 2011. I had a short film that I shot in downtown Albany, and I was invited to Russia in 2011. And I was one of 100 filmmakers. I was the only American, and there was filmmakers from 16 different countries, and they brought us together. And it was a cultural exchange of sorts. I got exposed to Russia for 4 days in St. Petersburg, 4 days in Moscow, and then I was brought to our sister city in Tula, where they celebrated my 3.5 minute short. I was there for like 21 days. So it was a big decision to go. And one of the factors that influenced me in going is they paid for 1/3 of my travel.
Mhm.
And and uh and I thought, by golly, if the Russians can invite me, an American, I want to do something like this and create a cultural exchange. So we created Capital Cinema Cultural Exchange, um, with a number of my filmmaker friends and colleagues, and we launched our first Filmmakers Lab in 2014, and we're celebrating our 10th year. And Cynthia, on the cover, if I can share, uh,
Sure.
this is what's coming out. This will be out this week, but this is the cover of our 10th edition, and it shows where we started. This was our first cover, Capital Cinema Cultural Exchange, and then this is year two. We One of the filmmaking participants, Marty Hardin, of the Capital Region, came up with the triple CE, and that stayed with us. And in year five, we flagged, or we came with a motto: breaking through. That's what we were doing. We were helping filmmakers. We realized what we were helping do is helping filmmakers break through. It's a very challenging industry. Unlike the European and Eastern European market, um, most of our films here in the United States and independent films are privately funded. There is grants and there is state funding, there is federal funding. Very challenging. Um, but I realized my colleagues across the Atlantic were more active than we were because they had funding. So one of the things we needed to do here is create a lab that helped filmmakers understand what they had, how to articulate their story, and how to go and raise money and complete their film. Then this theme of breaking through carried forward um, into the sixth edition. And then in the seventh edition, COVID hit, right? And we
Mhm.
moved to virtual. And so our cover design changed, and we proceeded in year 8 virtual, and we went hybrid. So now we're celebrating year 10 in a hybrid format, which is really tricky because our filmmakers, some will be with us virtually and some will be with us in person. And this is a 3-day event, November 3rd through the 5th. And this year, our theme is still producing dreams, and that's what we intend to do. And we're looking forward. We've got a great group of filmmakers, perhaps the most diverse and talented since we started.
So tell us a little bit about the filmmakers that you've had throughout the years, and then the ones that you will be having this year?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So, in year one, we had a movie that you may be familiar with, The Neighborhood That Disappeared.
Yep.
Lee's 88 Keys was a film that came through to us in post-production. Uh, Benedict Arnold, Hero Betrayed.
How is that movie coming along?
Well, that's finished.
Good.
Yeah. And that's part of our mission, is to help emerging filmmakers complete and present their movies in front of an audience. And
Well, tell us a little bit about the neighborhood that disappeared, because I live right across the street from that event.
well, I think the filmmakers would do better justice on talking about their film. What do you remember about that? Given that you live right across the street from that area.
Given the fact that I'm an Italian American
Mhm.
and the whole area was cleared for Rockefeller's Taj Mahal,
Yeah.
and you go down Madison Street, and from what I understand, it's not the same anymore. The church um is not the same. Neighborhoods are different, and so many so many people were displaced because of it.
And that story, Cynthia, resonated with one of the largest audiences on PBS, WMH, WMHT studios. They sold more copies of The Neighborhood That Disappeared. I believe his filmmakers were Mary Paley, John Romeo, and others. And they were able to reach a wide audience thanks to their skills in storytelling. And many like yourself were impacted by those real events. And
Mhm,
that story resonated with, I think, 40,000 people. So
mhm.
that's a pretty large audience for a regional story. Um, and congrats to them for getting that completed. Um, and that's what we're looking to do, is help filmmakers come in with a project and maybe just tweak things once or twice, or somehow inspire them. Now, this year, we're having filmmakers come back, and our model is very European. It When I was in Russia, I was also introduced to a film festival and market called Rotterdam. And so I went from Moscow, met the folks at the Moscow International Film Festival, met the folks at Rotterdam, and then I went back to Rotterdam in Europe on another date. And that's where the idea for the lab actually came about. But in looking at what they were doing, is helping filmmakers, surround them with other filmmakers, surround them with industry expertise, and treating them really super well, to the point that they start giving to each other, and that all of that synergy just results in some great momentum. And now's a very tough time, right, with the writer's strike and um, changing media landscape, funds, a lot of tightening of belts. Funds are evaporating and or just shrinking. Um, so it's a hard time. So
Would you say that most of the films that are being produced today, do you think they're going to be streamed online or shown in the movie theater?
well, you have to have a plan. We talk with filmmakers about that. Not all movies are going to make it into the theater. That's um, just a fact these days. But doesn't mean you should not strive to have your movie shown in a movie theater. Certainly, if you want to reach a wide audience today, um, there are multiple platforms that where you can position your film to reach a built-in audience. Now, despite all these platforms, no, they're not going to take everything. You know, Netflix is not going to take your film. Hulu's not going to take your film. Paramount Plus, Apple, uh, Peacock, you name it. Uh, as an independent, for the most part, you're going to need to find a way to navigate how you're going to reach your audience, and streaming is a part of that. And so you as a filmmaker, we need to think about those um, those avenues in reaching a wide audience.
So the people that have come in the past, have they come over and over again, and have they participated in any of the workshops?
I would say yes. You know, one in particular is a friend that a mutual friend you and I share, and Tom Mercer, who brought Benedict Arnold to the Northeast Filmmakers Lab edition 1. And
Wow.
it took, you know, many more years for that effort. And that's not uncommon. Uh Movies just take a long time. I was just listening to Spike Lee. He's working on a documentary on Kaepernick, the NFL quarterback, the guy who took a knee.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked him a question: "Is when it's going to come out?" And he goes, "You know, it's a tough one because uh, it requires funding, and if you don't have the funding, then you have to keep working at it on your own. See where you can move things, advance things. You keep moving it." So in Tom's case, he kept advancing the ball down the field, and finally made it to completion and brought it to something that's taking place right now. It's called the American Film Market on the West Coast. And it was able to get it represented by a company that then sold it. So it's obviously an educational documentary. It's a history documentary. It's a documentary lover of documentaries type of documentary. It's a Rev War documentary. You know, you think about all the different aspects of your audience, and you try to find the right way to market it and get that story out. So, you know, you can find that movie on different platforms, thanks to their educational distribution partner.
So your Northeast Filmmakers Lab, is there any other areas in this country that do the same thing that you do?
Well, I think, you know, Rotterdam in Holland was the first to come up with this lab model. Um, the Sundance Lab, Filmmakers Lab, was started, I believe, in the late 1980s, definitely the early 1990s. And, you know, they're the granddaddy of labs in the US. But Toronto is also there. They have their doc lab.
Mm-hmm.
You're now seeing other labs develop, because it's really what's required to help this next generation of emerging filmmakers, you know, get grounded in this industry that's rapidly changing, understand what they're facing, um, and to know that at every level of this industry, it's challenging to get a movie completed. I mean, Spike Lee would be the first to tell us that that's the nature of it. Um, so it's great to have a support network like a lab. They are showing up in other places.
Mm-hmm.
We've been asked, and we've done this 2 years. We've helped the Whistleblower Summit in Washington, D.C. develop their lab component. So something near and dear to your heart, whistleblowers in this country have a story to tell. Often the case doesn't turn out as well as they would like, but they've been exposed and their life has changed. And whistleblowers are now becoming more informed and more active in better telling their story. And, that starts often they'll write a book. So it starts with the literary rights, but how do you go from that document, those literary rights, to make it into a documentary or into a motion picture?
Mm-hmm.
I think you've had Frank Serpico on your program.
Yep.
Um, he and I were featured. He was the headliner, but we were in the opening discussions. They call it the plenary at the Whistleblower Summit. Not this summer, but the previous summer. So that was quite an honor because, as you know, Cynthia, one of the movies that came through the lab and was eventually completed was Sally May Not, Exposing America's Student Loan Scam.
Right.
And it won the Audience Award, or the People's Choice Award, they call it, there in the summer of 2021. Everybody can use a lab. Filmmakers, storytellers, whistleblowers, those who want to transform their story into media could benefit from participating in a lab. So, we're excited about participating with others, especially the Whistleblower Summit, because we like seeing these stories told, and we know we have a little bit of a sense of how hard it is. So, those are just great stories. They're great American stories. And, someone once said to me, like, documentaries and motion pictures, that's really the cornerstone of freedom of speech. And when we don't have the funding to to exercise our freedom of speech, we got to find a way. So the lab is one of those spokes that helps us, all of us, bring great stories to our culture, whether they're regional or national or international.
Tell us, from your opinion, how COVID changed the movie industry.
Oh, wow, that's a great question. So we pride ourselves on being small. We take 10 to 12 filmmakers every year. And we were able to pivot during COVID. And, we're a big believer in the show must go on. And it did. And for us, we hosted our 3-day event solely online. And this was the group of filmmakers that we had. And we continued with that model here in the 8th edition. Now, what was very significant and came out simultaneously, or in June of 2020, was the George Floyd incident. So you had COVID hit, right? March 2020. By June, we're dealing with George Floyd. Now, why do those things connect? I was on a virtual event called Real Screen, and it was a panel of 5 industry people, followed by 5 industry people, followed by 5 industry people. They had all their panels. But really what it was 5 white people, followed by 5 white people, followed by 5 white people. So simultaneously, COVID and George Floyd flipped this industry. And the following year, you saw more diversity on those panel discussions. Now, what was also happening was, with the advent of Zoom and Meetup and online, which was forced by COVID for us to go in that direction. You start to have access to people that you typically wouldn't have at a very low cost. So the industry moved towards being an online meetings. And from what I've heard, a lot of things were happening that didn't require travel, airfare, and everyone's life became kind of more open. And we were forced to go like where we are here now. So this is a great tool. And where is this going to go? This is going to go out to hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the silver linings of COVID, because we would have never gone down this path. And for us with the lab, I don't think we'll ever go back. We'll always be a hybrid event. And because of that, we have one of the youngest filmmakers ever to join us this year from China. We'll have a dual set of filmmakers from Sweden joining us. We'll have filmmakers from Virginia joining us, hybrid. And then we're going to have about 8 or 9 filmmakers in person at the Armory Studios, New York in Schenectady. So, this bringing all these pieces together is a result of COVID, and we've got to just keep moving in that direction and be inclusive. And it's really exciting to bring. I love, so we just had the orientation last Wednesday night, and it's just so great to have filmmakers from different time zones joining us. And we were going to bed here, and the kids in Sweden were saying, "Hey, good morning," because they were up at 6 a.m. That was really cool. So the cultural exchange that is afforded through things like Zoom here I think it's just remarkable.
So, Mike, give us the particulars on if they want to come in person or they want to come on Zoom. How can they do that?
Okay, so I'm going to just advance this booklet, which is in draft form. Mm-hmm. And so if they're going to come in person, they can come to Armory Studios. And this program booklet, will be available on our website, and it shows you where to park. Filmmaking is all about logistics. We want to make sure you can park your car, get in, get a cup of coffee, and enjoy yourself. So this is in person, and that's downtown Schenectady, Armory Studios, New York. Mm-hmm. A little bit about our board members. Here's our mission, which is to empower emerging filmmakers to complete and present their projects at a rapidly changing media landscape by leveraging world-class industry expertise through a lab process. Now, there are aspects of this that are open to the public. So there's Film Talk 1, which is we're going to be bringing back 2 filmmakers, and they're going to be serving now as mentors to our filmmakers, which is great. So they're going to pay it forward. It's just awesome. If there's time, Cynthia, I'd love to tell you a little bit more about some of our special events.
Of course, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Day 1, we have our opening keynote, which I mentioned are 2 filmmakers. They're going to move into Film Talk 1. Then we go into a private session with our filmmakers, project presentations, and we treat them to lunch, thanks to the Film Schenectady. We follow it up with more project presentations. But at 5:30, November 3rd, is an industry mixer, and we're going to honor one of our own. His name is Rich Lovrich, and he's been a board member for 9 years. He's stepped down, but he's the one who helped design those beautiful covers that we were looking at earlier. And so we're going to have a conversation with Rich. It's called Living a Creative Life with Rich Lovrich. And if some of your local listeners would know who he is, he's just a prolific photographer, writer, author, humorist, and a really great thinker. He's a great advocate for the arts. Now, on day 2, I would encourage folks to come to Film Talk 2, Cultivating Audience in an AI World. This is virtual. Again, tickets can be had, I think there's 15 bucks. Tickets are available through our website, cinemaexchange.org. On day 3, we're going to host Film Talk 3, The Power of Regional Filmmaking, take 2. And then we're going to have a pitch contest. And anybody can join this pitch contest. And the first place winner will receive 10,000 of in-kind services, which includes services like AI to help them identify their movies, content, distribution, perhaps casting suggestions, and Crew Me Up will offer a screenplay breakdown. Combined, these two things alone are over $10,000 to have that added on to your next project. So really cool stuff. This is Rich Lovrich. Again, the conversation at 6:30 on Friday. That's part of the industry mixer at what starts at 5:30. This is all in Armory Studios, cultivating audiences in an AI world. And again, they can go. I'll fast forward to share with you our filmmakers. So I think we've got 11 filmmakers from all over the world. We're still working on putting this together, but this booklet will be out very soon this week, and it'll be on our website. So if I can, here's some of our industry mentors. Certainly want to thank our sponsors, Armory Studios, the Art Center, New York State Council on the Arts, Albany Wine and Dine, From the Heart, Upstate New York, Black Chamber of Commerce, and folks at Film Schenectady. So there are many others, and they're in this booklet. So
if people want to contact you directly to ask you, if they want to participate, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to our website at cinemaexchange.org.
Okay.
And there's a way to contact us. Probably come to me, and they can also get tickets through cinemaexchange.org, which will link them over to Film Freeway, and it's there where folks can get access to Film Talks 1, 2, and 3, the industry mixer, and the pitch contest. So
it sounds like you have a full schedule, and it sounds interesting.
It is full. And here's the thing, Cynthia, when we were going through COVID, imagine 3 days, back-to-back days on Zoom, 10, 12-hour days. Filmmakers didn't want it to end. That's how we've really perfected our model to help them advance their projects. We live our mission, and we do it really well. And just ask the filmmakers. We've got 27 in a row 5-star reviews on Film Freeway. So we must be doing something right. We figured something out.
Okay, Mike, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and good luck with your film lab.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great day.